The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Let's go! What's that? It's gonna be a football game tonight now. No doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Predi has his fifth! What a comeback!
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Ladies and gentlemen, football to the max.
Here are your hosts, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Erik Watkins. Well, I'm sorry if you heard air noises throughout that intro. I just realized that it was not on mute. But might have been some clicks or whatever, but I don't think anybody talked, so it's alright. Welcome to another Football to the Max here, as what a thrilling, well, two of the games were thrilling. Three even. One of them just sucked, but that was kind of expected. But still, some good divisional round games. Headed into now the conference championship. You must be feeling good right about now, Erik.
I feel good, even though I was initially reluctant. However, I feel great that there's a Nostradamus on our team, but I feel weird that there's someone who doesn't even know the scheduling of how the playoffs work.
Erik is, of course, referring to Jalen Ramsey, who after the game, after they disposed of the Pittsburgh Steelers in what first was a rout and then turned out to be a much closer game, Jalen Ramsey goes on to say that they are not only going to be at the Super Bowl, which means they would defeat the New England Patriots this weekend, but they would go next week to and win the Super Bowl as well. Jalen Ramsey forgets that there's a Pro Bowl that gets played in between weeks there, and there is no Super Bowl the week after the championship game, but it's okay. He just played a really hard game
Well, he played a really hard game. We're not used to having to deal with the bye week between the conference championship and the Super Bowl. Not to mention, there might have been some hidden damage from that AJ Green chokehold that he was in, so I'm willing to give him a pass.
Fair enough. If he's still feeling the effects from that AJ Green chokehold, I think he might have some issues that are deeper than that.
Look, I'm not one to talk. I'm not one to judge. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So, I'm just going to leave it as it is.
I like that you still remember that commercial.
Of course. How could I forget?
I feel like that kind of died, and then it's been around here and there sometimes, but it's just like, what a time to be alive during that, where sometimes my stepdad also worked for Holiday Inn for a while as the banquet manager. So you can imagine we stayed in quite a few Holiday Inns and Holiday Inns Expresses. So I wanted to have that feeling of feeling like I was smarter.
Yeah. But between my different various experiences with hotels of that ilk, it fits. I mean, not to mention, hey, Circuit City and Roseanne are coming back. Why can't we bring back that ad campaign?
I do not understand the Circuit City thing at all. Like, it was a middle of the road. Like, if Best Buy is the top, Circuit City is like, I don't know what was below Best Buy in that kind of category, but
Radio Shack?
yeah, well, it was a better Radio Shack because it actually had things that Best Buy has that Radio Shack doesn't, but it's just like, why? Just as if brick and mortar stores really need to be getting made more at this point. It's more like you need to be regressing them, but hey, whatever floats your boat there.
Everybody's still focused on bigger and better. Soon society will realize that smaller and efficient is the key. Just hope it's not too late.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to have to remember that, hey, it is what it is, and the times are a-changing and have already changed. But let's talk about things. There's no reason to talk about games that already happened here. We were a little bit too late for that. I mean, if you want to, I feel like we do have to mention that ridiculous end to the Vikings and Saints game. I mean, one play that changed it all. And the thing was, too, the defender, whose name I can't remember right this second.
Williams?
Yeah. He actually started every freaking game for them as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually had a really good year. And then all who we're going to remember from this year for him is that play.
Well, that's because it's a hashtag, Minnesota Miracle. It's a great Joe Buck call. It's a great local radio call.
The local radio call was insane.
Not to mention the number of memes that you have and GIFs that you can create just from that footage of him as he's ducking his head in that particular pose. Sorry, but this is a day and age to where if you're going to go viral, that's how you're going to be remembered.
Yep, RKO out of nowhere. Or stunner or whatever else you want to put in there. It was around. Oh, man, I feel bad for it. But it's another notch in the belt for Case Keenum, I think you have to say. I mean, yes, Stephon Diggs is the one that makes that play, and I think all credit to him. But he led them on that drive when it looked like it was pretty much done. The Saints had made the crazy comeback, and you were about to talk about how the Vikings blew it, and here you go.
Well, and it's funny because right before that drive, you were talking on Facebook and said 26 seconds left, 2 timeouts, it's unlikely, but it's doable. And I'm like, I've seen crazier stuff happen. Those plays go on. And right before that last play, I'm like, well, hell, it's going to take a miracle now. Lo and behold, I doth spoke it into the universe.
Exactly. And it's crazy. I think the look on everybody's face, the interview by Everson Griffin was, I think, classic in that. I think that's how everybody was feeling at that point. Like, what is going on? I mean, the Vince Lombardi quote was never more appropriate. What the hell is going on right here?
Yeah, especially since his grandson's a coach for the Saints, it's more than applicable.
Exactly. So,
now,
Sean Payton goes out in the worst way, and Drew Brees as well.
Now, Minnesota, I gotta give you some crap because you had the chance to pull the potentially epic troll job. You're out there, you're sitting, you're waiting. Case Keenum is leading the crowd in a skull chant like he should have. Why don't you just for total shiggles snap the ball and go for 2 before the Saints get there?
Oh, that's just disrespectful at that point. I don't think you need to rub it in. It's just, it's not like the Saints did him dirty or whatever, or anything like that. It's the Vikings' fault that the Saints even came back and had a chance. So, they ain't got nobody to blame for themselves if that happened.
all the more reason. Just have them going, next time, Gadget. That kind of feeling.
I do appreciate that they actually say that we stole it from the Iceland team and not try to make it seem like they're the ones that invented it, because they obviously didn't.
No.
But the also the Jags and Steelers game was crazy too. Jags were winning by a lot and then almost blow it. Bortles was bortling it, for a while, and then he turned it back on. The Jags defense started coming back. I think you got to give the Steelers credit for fighting through that, I think.
Roethlisberger, even with the last play to Juju Smith-Schuster, 469 yards and 5 touchdowns against a pretty vaunted Jaguars defense. That was just a battle. And Calais Campbell, if you're listening, can you hook a brother up with some lotto numbers? Because times are a little tight, and I could use a little extra scratch. So could you do that for me?
Well, And then Leonard Fournette, of course, getting in a car accident doesn't help matters. He's not injured, but it's like just right there for the Patriots to just, hey, we have key players just getting hurt at the wrong time. What a way.
Uber, Lyft, Z-Trip, whatever.
It's like, wait till after. Well, that's not a guarantee that you don't have accidents during an Uber either. I mean,
but it wouldn't be your own fault. You could sue. Big difference.
Yeah. I mean, you could, but if he's injured, it's not like it helps the Jaguars any in the game that they need to play.
Yeah, true. Although, TJ Yeldon, he wasn't that bad, and Chris Ivory was a healthy scratch, so, I still see your point.
Yeah, I just think either way, look, the Jaguars pulled it off, got through, killing my Super Bowl prediction, or the half of it anyway. The Steelers did not even make it past the Jaguars, proving that apparently, I guess we're gonna beat teams multiple times during the season this year. That's just how things are gonna work. The Saints beat the Panthers 3 times. The Jaguars go and beat the Steelers twice.
Yep, called it.
Hold on. I love it when my headset decides, oh, I need to charge you, or you need to charge me in the middle of the podcast, and I can't do it while I'm, it's one of those things you have to look at. But I think certainly you got to give the Jaguars credit that the Patriots went and took care of business, right? They're pretty much how you expected. I love Mularkey sitting there talking about a first quarter pass interference or something that wasn't called. And it's like, wait, really? Is that how low we're going here? Maybe that's why you're mutually agreeing to leave?
Yeah, in the first quarter pass interference, when you should have told Dick LeBeau, hey, I know you're a legend in this league, I know you know what you're doing, but for the love of God, linebacker against Gronkowski, they kind of see that coming. Can you fix that, please? This ain't working for us.
Well, Dick LeBeau waited way too long, if at all, to make any adjustments to what the Patriots are doing. I just think they didn't have the personnel to deal with the Patriots like that. It's like they don't have anybody that's going to, Gronk was wide open, I don't know how many times. Like it's like, it's near impossible at that point. So I think that they tried to stick with it, but the Patriots were going to pull away, and they did. So, and the Falcons and Eagles was a good game too. Nick Foles and the Eagles prevail. in exciting fashion there at the end. Steve Sarkisian is returning to the team, though, even though that set of play is, those set of plays that they ran were awful.
Yeah, I can blame Sarkisian a little bit, but at the same time, really look at what Matt Ryan was doing. I mean, give Julio Jones credit for trying to jump up and make that pass, but I mean, come on. That was too high for just about anybody.
Yeah, well, and then also the way he came down, he would have been out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
So
really
wasn't. The first
Mm-hmm.
throw, the one where he tripped and fell on that fourth down, he would have come out of bounds. So, it was almost impossible. Even if he would have caught it, wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, so you're really not doing your receivers any favors in those situations.
Yeah, and I don't know why you're calling that stupid shovel pass at that point. Like, I get it that you're trying to deceive the defense, but that's the defense that's expecting any kind of little thing at this point, making sure you don't get in the end zone. So, I don't know. They have not been the same with Sark, obviously. But now you get a whole another year of dealing with him. I can understand not wanting to change OCs that quick. I mean, some other things go your way in that game the Falcons are going through. So, is it really all on him at that point?
No, it isn't, and I can only imagine what kind of revamps, really, if any, that are going to happen over this off season. And I'm hoping that cooler heads prevail and you maintain some stability rather than just running Sark out of town.
Speaking of being run out of town, I forgot to mention this over. Do you feel like they did say it was mutual, and it seemed like they were going to tell basically Mularkey, okay, we're going to control who you hire here because you're kind of on thin ice if you want to be the coach. And I can sort of understand him. Like, why do you want to be in a situation where basically there's a hair trigger that can be pulled at any moment if you have like a bad run in the regular season?
Well, I don't know, because they look at how he's done in the regular season previously, and even with this 9-7 record and a playoff appearance and a playoff win, he still finishes his career as a Titans head coach with a losing record. So it's one of those.
Also they got blown out by the Patriots. I mean, I think anybody would have expected that, probably even the Titans brass or whatever, but in the other stance, I think you're looking at it and saying, well, we did provide talent around Mariota, and it's not Mularkey's fault that Mariota got hurt.
Right.
And they had to change the way that they, ran the offense at that point.
Right. And I do get that, but at the same time, your reputation precedes you. That's the blessing and a curse about the NFL being somewhat of a retread league. If you're known for a lot of great things in the past, that favors you and that will make you a candidate to get another job and to maintain a job somewhere. But if you're known for screw-ups, people are only going to reach out to you if they're really desperate.
Exactly. I don't know. It's not like another guy that we're about to talk about that he sort of has a reputation as an okay offensive coordinator, or that he has a reputation, at least with Eli Manning as the quarterback, to being an okay offensive coordinator. That he's getting interviews, but Mularkey, I don't know. I feel like that might have been his last stop, but you never know. I mean, there's offensive line positions and like other smaller coaching positions that he could get.
But when you're top of the mountain, when you're one of only 32 people on the planet that say, I am a head coach of a National Football League team, where does your ego end? How far down are you really willing to go, knowing that you've tasted from that golden chalice?
Well, I mean,
Well,
is some college asking for you?
I mean, for colleges, yeah, that's a one thing, but for like a lower tier kind of grunt coach in the NFL, a lot of guys aren't willing to take that hit. So I think really, will I say this is the last we've ever seen of him? No, but he's really going to take time and do a little reflecting and not just jump at any old job.
Oh, probably not. I would agree with you. But I'm sure he has some people that might give him some kind of cozy spot somewhere. Speaking of the man I just kind of hinted at, Ben McAdoo is interviewing for the Cleveland Browns job. I almost really just want this to happen.
Please! I beg and pray to the football gods, let this work. I will never doubt you or your existence if this comes to be. Please, if not just for the comedy. You already have the weather trolling the team. Come on, give us all a little extra something.
It's amazing. It's like amazing to me though. It's just, please, Harry's line of stuffed in McAdoo will fully be realized, because you went from being the coach of the Giants to now the offensive coordinator for the Browns, in which somehow they might get worse.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. Number one, you're absolutely right. But number two, wouldn't that being worse just make things even funnier? I mean, picture this. They're talking about the parade, which I am still pretty pissed about that I was not invited to be Grand Marshal. But that's neither here nor there. They put up the graphic.
I think you might have to start by living in Cleveland.
Not necessarily. Whoa, let's not go crazy here, okay? Like I said, I'm willing to fly there and visit and do this, but if I have to actually live there, no dice. No.
But that's where the heart of rock and roll is.
And?
I wanted to make that reference.
But
I was listening to some Huey and Lewis in the news earlier today. And
yeah. Okay, well, I mean, that's fair. But I mean, just think about all this, though. The local TV station, I believe it's either Channel 2 or Channel 8. One of those. They got the graphics, the stadium in the background, talking about the parade, and they give a 4-day weather forecast. It's Cleveland, which means it's cold. We're dealing with all kinds of freakish weather patterns, which it's even colder. Right next to the graphic is the first day of a 4-day forecast. You have a high of 0 for that day. 0. Can you guess what the low was?
-10.
-16. Put them together, and what do you get?
-16.
0-16, and the graphic was set up perfect.
Oh, sorry. I just got it.
The graphic was set up perfectly, and I'm like, the weather is even trolling you at this point.
Not just imagine, I could see Cleveland being like, oh, we're going to really be Cleveland, and we're going to have a parade in 0-degree weather.
Well, considering as how for that 4-day span it wasn't going to get any warmer than about 8, they didn't have a choice.
I get you, but I could, like, hey, we lost all of our games this season. Why not let's just be just total losers and have our parade in 0-degree weather?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can.
Yes, exactly. And you want me to live there? Yes, let's examine that on another day.
The Seahawks get a new coordinator duo, basically. Brian Schottenheimer comes over from the Colts, and Ken Norton Jr. leaves the rival San Francisco 49ers to take the whole defensive coordinator job at the Seahawks. I feel these guys both have good reputations, especially Norton Jr., so I think it's good hires by Pete Carroll.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's definitely going to need the help. But, I don't know. I mean, with Ken Norton Jr. and his time with the Raiders, towards the end, there were people kind of calling for his head. And especially with the Raiders secondary, you can kind of see why. So I didn't know if he's absolutely the best guy for the job, especially since Seattle, their defense based upon the Legion of Boom. And let's face it, the Legion kind of needs some new recruits. So, it's going to be tough sledding. I get it, but it's going to be tough sledding.
Yeah, certainly. I think they'll be okay. I mean, it doesn't help when Jeremy Lane's already in trouble, and technically the season's not over yet. And it's going to be a rough one for Richard Sherman to come back from that injury, and Cam Chancellor as well. I mean, you're only getting older, so there's only so many times you can go through this. But it's really the first serious injury for Sherman, so I feel like he'll be okay. And you'll go back to being the remnants of what you were, which is what you were before they got injured anyway.
Right.
And that offensive line better get some big help in the draft because it still has problems protecting. Russell Wilson, I know that they lost their very, very important left tackle and everything, and then you go sign another left tackle, and he still gives you problems. And their right tackle, I think, had the most false start penalties. He was the most false start penalties or the most holding penalties in the league. And it's like, poor Russell Wilson just can never get dependable offensive line play.
No, in a division that's shaping up more and more where you're going to need protection because you're going to need to score points, that's going to be a major problem. He can't have another year where he accounts for all but one touchdown throughout the course of a season.
And I've got to talk about some breaking news, apparently. Well, it's not breaking. This apparently happened at 4:30, but they're just now talking about it. Apparently, Washington State QB Tyler Helinski, the backup to Luke Falk, committed suicide from a self-inflicted gunshot to the head.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And he left a suicide note. He was a redshirt sophomore.
To the head, and so that, I don't know whether, no, because with CTE, they would normally do it to the chest, so that way you can use your brain and do stuff. Wow.
I mean, if he's not really playing that much, unless you just got really whacked in Pop Warner.
Yeah.
Or in high school, I mean, you should kind of be okay at 21. But.
Right. I mean, 21 times are good. At least you would think.
That's just sad.
That is sad.
But, that's an awful image. I feel bad for his family. Condolences go out to them to have to deal with that. That is
family, teammates, friends, the school, everybody. 'Cause whoa,
my goodness. Well, you never know what's going through somebody's mind at that point. I don't want to speculate, but just sad to get that all of a sudden and then have to talk about it here. But I think the last things before basically getting interrupted with that was Pat Shurmur expected to be the head coach of the Giants. Of course, the current he's currently with the Vikes right now, so
Yep.
they're basically waiting for what happens with them before he heads off.
Yeah, he waiting for the season to end, and there were rumors swirling around that Case Keenum could follow Shermer where he goes if he lands a head coaching job, but up in New York, that's at best a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could happen, but you'd think that they would just want to start fresh at that point and say, okay, let's go draft one of those quarterbacks and kind of be set for a while. You bring in one of the quarterback gurus that are out there, and let's see if you can mold them. You've done it with Case Keenum and Sam Bradford and so on, so you should be able to do it with this guy as well, whoever it is that they wind up drafting. And also Josh McDaniels is expected to be the coach of the Colts. So, I mean, that would work out great for Andrew Luck if he can make it back from that injury. So, we've seen... sorry, hold on. Yeah, so I think this is a great thing for Andrew Luck. And, we've seen what McDaniels can do with Brady and, did good things with Cutler as well. So, you think that, things are set better for the Colts now if he winds up being the coach?
Again, well, this is the same guy, McDaniels, who, let's face it, he is forever linked with Tim Tebow, at least in my mind. That aside, if he can shore up this offensive line, which has been just about as porous and god-awful as Seattle's, then yes, I think with someone who Andrew Luck coming back, hopefully, see how many years he has with him. You still got Jacoby Brissett, who when you're familiar with from New England. Yeah, I think the Colts can be just fine.
Yeah, I think they will be okay too. I mean, again, it helps a lot. You have Andrew Luck there already. I think the offensive line's all about. You got some good pieces there. Just you got to get better in the draft about that. Wonder if Frank Gore has got at least a year left. Even then, Marlon Mack was improving. T.Y. Hilton is still really good. And then with Luck there, that receiving core already improves. The defense is going to be the other question, but I mean, that's kind of always been suspect for the Colts for a while, so that's not too surprising. And it's also not McDaniels' area of expertise. So as long as the offense runs and does what you expect them to, then, sorry, I have family showing up, so the dog is going nuts. Apologize if you're hearing that. But, yeah, so let's close this out here with just to see if any of your predictions change. I had Steelers and Vikes, so I have to change my AFC prediction, which I'm going to revert back to my original prediction, which I think was Patriots and Giants in the Super Bowl. Giants were obviously wrong, completely and utterly wrong, awfully wrong. I was not the only one to make that prediction, though, so I feel okay in that.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is a team out there, I want to say it, there's a team out there that is built and can disrupt what the Patriots are, it's the Jaguars. They have a secondary that covers well. They have a defensive line that gets at you. They run some big blitz packages that can also be a problem. We got to remember that offensive line is not one of the better ones in the league. They just
not at all.
They've run into some. They ran into the Titans, which they didn't have to worry about that much. So I think this is a whole different animal, something that they haven't faced really all year. This is I think this is going to give Brady and them a problem. I do think that we did see Garoppolo, throw a lot against the Jaguars. We saw the Steelers last week after the Jaguars got out to a big lead. comeback slowly but surely. Dion Lewis is not Le'Veon Bell, but he's been pretty good. And then you have your backs that you use. Gronk is still a dude that it's very, very difficult to defend. It's so hard for me to discount the Patriots in the playoffs when you're one win away from the Super Bowl again with all the drama and everything else. I think it would be really cool to have a Jaguars-Vikes Super Bowl just because I think the NFL would, I don't know what, I think they would just shit themselves.
They would.
But I can't do it. I can't bet against Brady and the Patriots and Belichick and all that until it's proven, until it's beaten. I have to go with them, and I have to say the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl again. And I think the Vikings are going to beat the Eagles in the battle of the two former Ram QBs. I think, look, that this could be one of those like 10-6 games.
Easily.
Go ahead.
No, you finish.
Well, I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of evenness in a lot of the matchups that you look at. I think obviously the Eagles have a better offensive line, and they have a better running back core. I would go with the Vikings receivers slightly over the Eagles receivers there. The defense is also very close, but again, I feel like I've said it. I think the Vikings are a team of destiny. I think they're going to be that first team that becomes the first, even though technically they'll be the away team in the Super Bowl. They will be the first home team to play in a Super Bowl, and I think they win.
Yeah, they would technically be considered the away team, and of course, when it comes to the billboards and video replay and all of that, it would still be considered a neutral site, so the Vikings couldn't get any advantage there. However, when it comes to the
there's going to be Vikings fans that are going to be buying up tickets.
Oh, there's going to be a good share of Vikings fans there, don't get me wrong, and Vikings fans are going to make deals with everybody and all this and that.
And if it's the Patriots against them, they're going to be the neutral fans team.
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely. So there's going to be a heavily purple atmosphere. But I will say this. When it comes to the AFC, a lot of people think I went out on a limb at the beginning of the playoffs when I had Jacksonville in this game. Well, here we are. I do realize that Doug Marrone, as a head coach, has beaten these Patriots. Not in the same situation. I get that. Tom Coughlin has beaten the Patriots in big game situations. Although he's not in exactly the same position. I get that too. Belichick knows that this is pretty much the last hurrah. He's not going to go through, plan everything that he's planned throughout this entire season, only for it to end short again. He is going to pull out every single stop he can, expose every vulnerability, so he can get what he wants, one last ring, before he lays waste to the organization. So be it. That said, while it's a tremendous Cinderella story, while everything seems to fit, while it's going to be unusually warm in Foxborough on Sunday, they're the 3 o'clock game, and it's going to be just about 45, 50 degrees. Rare. I don't think the Jaguars just have enough. I give kudos to them, but this is a repeat of history. Beating Pittsburgh in cold weather, to go to New England the following week against a team that's a favored, hang tough, but lose. Because the week after the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Jaguars in that 31-29 game, or 32-29, the Patriots went to undefeated, or the Jaguars went to undefeated New England, lost 31-20. It could be a similar scoreline there. Who knows? But I think with everything going on, I myself just can't bet against New England. I had it at the beginning of the season, had it at the beginning of these playoffs. As far as for the NFC, let's face it, Nick Foles had a good game. A good game. But they still only managed 15 points against an Atlanta defense that's on a good day, slightly above average. Yes, Minnesota got torched in the second half, but you really think that they're not going to make those tweaks and adjustments, even if they have to go on the road? I'm sorry, but if it's coming down to another 13-10 slugfest, I don't see Philadelphia pulling it off twice. So, I'm sticking with my pick. New England, Minnesota. Patriots get another ring, and I won't have to deal with them again for another decade or more.
Well, so, there you go. Those are our predictions going into the Championship Sunday. And until then, that's going to wrap it up for us here. This time we will have a show on Sunday talking about the two games. And then we might have a preview show later in the week, maybe that Tuesday or something. And, alright, until then, we'll see you later, everybody.
Peace.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.